welcome to more cacao and chocolate magic. So I'm just going to explain the ground or the reason why we have to temper chocolate, because when you understand this, it helps actually move through the process, because it really gives you an innate understanding. And that's really important when you're working with ingredients. It's to understand them and connect with them. And yeah, so you'll discover actually tempering chocolate is not as difficult as it's made out to be. It's really about being in tune and listening. So this is a little bit about the background as to why. So when you temper chocolate, you're doing that to create that shine in the chocolate, and when you bite into it, to create the snap. And it gives a shelf life as well, because it's like a coating and it covers the inside of the whatever's hidden inside the shell. And so when you have a cacao bean, and this is where it all begins, the cacao bean makes up chocolate. And inside the cacao bean are two key ingredients. And those ingredients are the white, which is the fat, and the cacao butter. Now, cacao butter is the most incredible moisturizer. It carries all the flavor. And we have the cacao powder, which is the dark, and also this has all the health properties. So together, 50% of that bean is butter and 50% of it is the cacao powder. And when you have your chocolate and you buy a bar of chocolate, it looks nice and shiny. And when you break it, it has a snap to it. That chocolate is tempered. Now, when you melt that chocolate, when it goes above maybe 24, 25 degrees, it starts to naturally come out of temper. And so you put your chocolate, chop it up, put it over a bowl of water to melt, it becomes liquid and it naturally goes out of temper. And you end up with chocolate looking something like this. So you might have opened up an Easter egg or a bar of chocolate and it has these white lines in it or dots, and it might look like it's gone moldy. It's still perfectly fine. It just means it's gone out of temper. Also, direct sunlight will put the chocolate out of temper, but it will still taste good. Some chocolate that's a little bit more rough will taste a little bit grainy when it's out of temper. So what happens? What's the magic? So there's a science behind it, but I'm not a scientist. I'm a passionate cacao ambassador. So I'm not going to explain it too technically, but what takes place basically when you have your chocolate nice and shiny with the snap, the cacao butter and cacao powder, they sit together in what I call happy crystals. So they sit together, the chocolate sets really quickly, and when it does set, it has a shine to it. Now, as soon as that chocolate starts to get warm, the crystals and the cacao butter and the cacao powder start to separate, and the crystals change. And they slowly keep separating. And the more liquid the chocolate becomes, the more they separate, until they become completely separate. And that's where you get the white streaks in your chocolate. So the white is the cacao butter naturally coming away. Now the good news is when you have that on your chocolate, it means it has cacao butter in it, because compound or cooking chocolate actually doesn't have any cacao butter at all in it. So that's what happens. They come apart. Now for you to temper your chocolate, what you're doing is when your chocolate's still liquid, you're trying to get the cacao butter and the cacao powder to get back together into those happy crystals. And the way you do that is by dropping the temperature really quickly. So they're apart and it's like they have to jump together for a hug because it's gotten so cold. So you get the cacao butter and the cacao powder back together in that happy crystal. And that means your chocolate's tempered while it's still liquid. Then it will set and it will have that shine and that snap to it. And this is all an incredible science and technique that was discovered maybe 100, 150 years ago in a royal palace somewhere when somebody was playing with chocolate, and they discovered by accident, wow, the difference it makes when you actually play with it and allow it to set in a particular way. But as I said, your chocolate doesn't have to be tempered. It will still taste amazing. And we're working in the tropics in Solomon Islands and creating untempered chocolate, because untempered chocolate is a bit more robust. It doesn't melt so easily, so it works in hot climates. And that's traditionally how cacao and chocolate was made thousands of years, in terms of in like discs to be able to make hot chocolate. They didn't care about it looking shiny and pretty, but it's a wonderful thing to do and play with. So tune in for the next video and we'll show you actually how to temper.